Welcome back, students. I remain Samuel, aka Sam Done for Peace. This will be our part 2. Part 2, we just finished part 1. Okay, we had 7 questions in part 1. Part 2, we shall also have 7 questions. Okay, so before you continue with this video, please view part 1. Okay, please view part 1. Very important. And this will be in a video playlist, so you won't miss it. If you're watching this video, that means the video above it is part 1 on the playlist. Okay, it will also be on my website, Algebra, the videos section, the videos tab. Let's start with this one. Let's start with the fractional. We stopped at question 7, so here we continue with question 8. Y raised to power 2 over 3. 2 over 3. Fractional. Minus 9y 1 over 3. Minus 9y 1 over 3. Plus 20 equal to 0. Okay. So like we said in part 1, whereby we solved some fractional equations, you want to simplify this, so you want to do a substitution, and you want to do something that you want to substitute with one that is the simplest form. Okay, if you look at it, 1 over 3 is the simplest form. Every other one can be expressed in 1 over 3. Okay, what am I saying? You could write this as y 1 over 3 times 2. Okay, laws of exponents. Times 2, because this means 1 over 3 times 2 gives you 2 over 3. Minus 9y 1 over 3 plus 20 equal to 0. Now we could say let P be y 1 over 3. Okay, so in this case we now have that p squared minus 9p plus 20 is equal to 0. Are you with me? So we can now solve this by factoring. Okay, 20p squared, 1 and 20 will not work. Negative 1, negative 20 will not work. 2 and 10 will not work. Negative 2, negative 10 will not work. 3 will not work. 4 and 5 will not work. Negative 4, negative 5 will work. And the coefficient here is 1. So we could do p minus 4, p minus 5 equal to 0. So we now use the zero product property. P minus 4 is 0, or p minus 5 is 0. Please, in part 1, I mentioned all the prerequisite videos. Okay? No need to mention it here in part 2, because in part 1, I mentioned all the prerequisite videos that you need to know prior to viewing part 1. Okay, so p is equal to 4, or p is equal to 5. Alright. Okay, now do we stop here? No. We gotta do what? Check our work. Check. So the left, now before we check, this is in P. You see, I mentioned in part 1 that you always need to check with the original equation. So I wrote check, and when I was about to write the original equation, I saw y. Meanwhile, this is p. So I have to pause and get my y first. Okay? So you see, one of the reasons why you should always check with the original equation. Do not check your work with the modified equation. This is a modified equation. Always check your work with the original equation. So let's go ahead and find y. So recall Recall that P is y raised to power 1 over 3. So this means that y raised to power 1 over 3 is equal to P. And you know, we cannot always find y. Multiply both exponents. Multiply both exponents by 3. Y 1 over 3 times 3 equal to P cubed. Because this means like P1. So it's like P1 times 3. If you want to write it that way. Okay? So y is equal to P cubed. Okay? When P is 4, if P is 4, y will be 4 cubed. And y will be 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Now when P is equal to 5, y will be 5 cubed. And that is 125. So now we can now check. Okay? We can now check our work. So we write our check. Left hand side, right hand side. Left hand side we have y 2 over 3 minus 9y 1 over 3 plus 20. Right hand side we have 0. So when our y, let's check with y equal to 64. So this means 64 exponent 2 over 3 minus 9 times 64 exponent 1 over 3 plus 20. Okay? Now this means cube root of 64 all squared, laws of exponents. Okay, a base with a fractional exponent. Minus 9 times cube root of 64 raised to power 1, if you want to call it raised to power 1, plus 20. Okay? So this gives us cube root of 64 is what? 4. 4 squared minus 9 times 4 plus 20. And that is 16 minus 36 plus 20. Okay? So this is negative 20 plus 20, and that will give us 0. So this works. Y equal to 64. Works. So let us do the same thing for y equal to 125. Okay? This will be 125 raised to power 2 over 3 minus 9 times 125 raised to power 1 over 3 plus 20. And that will give us cube root of 125 all squared minus 9 times cube root of 125 plus 20. Our cube root of 125 is 5. 5 squared minus 9 times 5 plus 20. So this gives us 25 minus 45 plus 20. And that gives us negative 20 plus 20, and that gives us 0. Okay? Comprenez? Comprenez-vous? Puis comprenons. Okay, let's do question 9. So I check this off. Solve and check. Question 9, we have a radical square root of 5h minus 2 equal to 0. Okay, so in this case we only have one radical. In the previous video we saw a case of two radicals, And we said if you have two radicals, you will have to square both sides, okay? And if you have two radicals, make sure one radical is on your left and the other radical is on your right. We talked about that. We solved a question like that in part 1. Now here we have only one radical, so that makes it super easy for us. As usual, if you have any radical, make sure it is by itself. So let the radical be alone by itself. Okay. So that -2, we will move it to the right. So this means square root of 5h minus 2 equal to 0 plus 2. Okay. Square root of 5h minus 2 is 2. Then the next thing you do is, when you have one radical, you square both sides. Square both sides. You square only once. When you have one radical, you square only one time. When you have two radicals, you will square 2 times. So here you will only square 1 time. Square both sides. And you have square root of 5h minus 2 all squared equal to 2 squared. So 5h minus 2 is equal to 4. 5h is equal to 4 plus 2. 5h is equal to 6. H is 6 over 5. Okay? Do we stop here? No. We've got to do what? Check our work. So we go ahead and check this, folks. We check it. Our left hand side is square root of 5h minus 2 minus 2. Our right hand side is 0. We always want to check with the main equation. The main equation. So this is square root of, and our h we got was 6 over 5. So this is 5 times 6 over 5 minus 2 minus 2. Okay? So this will be square root of 5 into 5, that's gone. 6 minus 2 minus 2. Oh, looks, yeah. Right? 6 minus 2 minus 2. So this is square root of 4 minus 2, which is 2 minus 2, which is 0. 0 on your left, 0 on your right. You can jump up and touch the ceiling. Okay? Question 10. Okay, this one is knocked off. Question 10, we have a higher order equation here. 2x cubed minus 18x squared minus 8x plus 72 equal to 0. Okay? You look at this now. The videos like part 1, we said that factoring is very important. Okay, all those videos in the playlist on factoring, very important. And in part 1 we said that the equations we shall do will just be the one that can be solved by factoring and grouping. If you want to use rational zero theorem, you can do that. Okay, but we're not going to do that here. I will do that separately, teach rational zero theorem on by itself. Okay, I'll teach that and post it on YouTube, put the link on my website. So the ones we shall do in this video are those that you can solve by factoring and grouping. And when we did the video on factoring by grouping, factor by grouping, we said if it's 4 terms, you can solve it by grouping. Okay, so you solve it by grouping, and then you solve it, you factor by grouping, then you factor by GCF. You can use vertical method, you can use horizontal method. Okay, I've been using vertical method, and I think I prefer using vertical method. But you can use horizontal method here. So we shall solve it and we shall check it. So vertical method, we have 2x cubed minus 18x squared. Then you have minus 8x plus 72. So here you factor by GCF. The GCF here is 2x. And you have 2x squared actually. 2x squared. What is remaining is x minus 9. Okay? Then here you have a leading negative. You have a leading negative. Anytime you have a leading negative, you must factor out the negative first. Anytime you have a leading negative. So this is negative 8, and this will be x minus 9. Okay? Negative 8x divided by negative 8 is x. 7 plus 72 divided by negative 8 is negative 9. So once this is equal to this, once this and this are the same, you can always, you factor again by GCF. So we now have x minus 9 and 2x squared minus 8 equal to 0. Now if you want to do this by horizontal method, if you want to do this by horizontal method, you can do it this way. You just do it you group in twos. This is 2x, x minus 9. You have a leading negative here, minus 8, x minus 9 equal to 0. And then you factor again by GCF, because this is a common factor. If you factor again by GCF, x minus 9, this divided by x minus 9 is 2x squared. Sorry, this is 2x squared. Minus 8 times x minus 9 divided by x minus 9 is minus 8 equal to 0. So it gives you vertical method, horizontal method. Okay, I prefer the vertical method. So now we do zero product property. Zero product property. So x minus 9 is 0, or 2x squared minus 8 is 0. Now, you know the easiest way we would have solved this, so we wouldn't run into this. Remember what I taught you. Remember what I taught you in factoring. Okay, and I'm going to do it that way. That is the very first thing you need to do. Very first thing you always need to do. Okay, this is okay, oh, trust me, this is okay. But I don't want to teach you that way. Okay, that is not the way I've been teaching this. Remember, the first thing we did was factor by GCF. And we said in anything that you need to solve, if you can factor by GCF first. First. That is the first thing. So how did I know if you had factored by GCF, you wouldn't run into something like this? Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, factor by GCF first. So I'm going to, and you can still finish this like this, okay? But I want to teach you how because it's always good to solve this in simplified form first. Simplified form. So it makes it easier for you. So we are still on question 10. The GCF there is 2. So this is 2x cubed minus 9x squared minus 4x plus 36 equal to 0. Now you divide both sides by 2. So x cubed divide both sides by 2. This is the way I would prefer you to do this, okay? Divide both sides by 2. Anytime you can factor by GCF, do that first. So when you do this, this will be x cubed minus 9x squared minus 4x plus 36. If I have to show all my work, you say it here, 0 over 2. Bam, bam. That is gone. So I have that x cubed minus 9x squared minus 4x plus 36 equal to 0. We can do vertical method here. Minus 4x plus 36. The GCF here is x. We have x minus 9. X squared actually. The GCF is x squared. And we have x minus 9. Here we have a leading negative. Leading negative. This is negative 4. And we have x minus 9. So we have x minus 9 times x squared minus 4 equal to 0. You see? So, I mean, you could also come over here. You do 2x squared minus 4 equal to 0. You divide both sides by 2. You still have x squared minus 4 equal to 0. But I will teach you to handle it from the beginning, so you wouldn't have to handle it here. Okay? So let's finish this. So we see that x minus 9 is 0, or x squared minus 4 is 0. So x minus 9 is 0, x will be equal to 9. Okay? Or this will be x squared minus 2 squared equal to 0. Difference of two squares. Difference of two squares. So this is x plus 2, x minus 2 equal to 0. So x plus 2 is 0, x will be negative 2. Or x minus 2 is 0, x will be equal to 2. Okay. The next thing we have to do what is to check our work. Okay, we gotta check. We have to check our work. Okay? We got to check our work to make sure that it is right. Anything called equations, anything at all called equations, it is important that you check. Okay. This is our left hand side, okay? And our right hand side is 0. Now, let's start with checking for x equal to 9, right? X equal to 9. So this will be 2 times 9 cubed minus 18 times 9 squared minus 8 times 9 plus 72. So this is 2 times 9 times 9, 81 times 9, 729. 729 minus 18 times 81 minus 72 plus 72. Okay, this one is gone already anyway. 2 times 9 is 18, 1. 2 times 2, 4 plus 1, 5. 2 times 7 is 14. Minus, let me do 18 times 81. This is 18, 4. 8 times 8, 64, 4, 6 times 1, 8 plus 6, 14. So 8, 1458. Okay? 1458. And that is 0. So x equal to 9 works. Okay? Let's do x equal to negative 2. X equal to negative 2. So left hand side we have 2 times negative 2 all cubed minus 18 times negative 2 all squared minus 8 times negative 2 plus 72. So this is 2 times negative 8, right? 2 times negative 8 minus 18 times 4 plus 16 plus 72. This is negative 16 minus 4 times 8, 32, 2, 3, 72. Okay? Plus 16 plus 72. And that gives you 0. Okay? That gives you 0. Okay. The last check here is x equal to 2. And that will be 2 times 2 cubed minus 18 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 72. And that is 2 times 8 minus 18 times 4 minus 16 plus 72. 16 minus 72 minus 16 plus 72. And that is 0. Okay? 16 minus 16 minus 72 plus 72. That's it. Does that make sense? Next question, question 11. We have square root of g plus 3 plus 9 equal to 4. Okay, so we want the radical to be on one side by itself. So we move this 9 over here. So square root of g plus 3 is 4 minus 9. Square root of g plus 3 is negative 5. Okay, depending on the question that you are asked, okay, you know, whenever we see this square root sign, we are referring to the positive square root. Positive square root. So with this kind of situation, when you see positive square root of something being a negative number, okay, when you see the positive square root, we call it positive square root or principal square root. So when you see positive square root of a term being equal to a negative number, we just say there's no solution. Okay, because we are considering only the positive square root. If depending on how the question was asked, if the question was like, okay, find all the solutions, both positive square root and negative square root, then you might want to proceed further. You know, if it's only positive square root, I'll show you something. If you say square both sides, okay, square both sides, you have that g plus 3 all squared is equal to negative 5 all squared. So you now have that g plus 3 is equal to 25. And g will be 25 minus 3. G will be 22. Okay. If you check this now, if you are considering only positive square root, then this will not have a solution. Okay? Because when you come to, when you check this now, if you check this with the main equation, the left hand side is square root of g plus 3 plus 9, and then the right hand side is 4. So this will be 22 plus 3 plus 9. Okay? So this will be 25 plus 9. And this will be 5 plus 9, and that is 14. 14 is not equal to 4. So this is no solution. No solution. Okay? There's no way with a positive square root or principal square root of something will give you a negative number. No, it's not gonna work. Okay? So just take note of it. There's no way. Okay? So we do question 12. Question 12. Check this off. We have 3x to the 5th minus 6x cubed equal to 0. Okay? So here we first of all factor by GCF. Remember what I said, if you can factor by GCF, you do that first. Okay? This is a higher order equation. Now this will be 3x cubed. The GCF is 3x cubed. Okay? So here you have x squared minus 2 equal to 0. Are you with me? So you can now do zero product property. Zero product property. 3x cubed is equal to 0, or x squared minus 2 is equal to 0. So here 3x x cubed will be equal to 0 divided by 3. X cubed is 0. X will be cube root of 0. So x is equal to 0. Okay? X is equal to 0. Here, I know this is not difference of two squares, but whenever you have x squared to something, you can use what we call the square root property. Square root property. You can either do difference of two squares or you can do square root property. So square root property, you have x squared to be 2 and you have x to be plus minus square root of 2. Okay? So x is positive square root of 2 or x is negative square root of 2. Okay? And I have videos on all these. Okay? So let's check this. Let's check this. We write the left hand side and then the right hand side. We check with the main equation. This is 0 and this is 3x5 minus 6x cubed. So with x equal to 0, we have 3 times 0 or 5 minus 6 times 0 cubed, which is 0 minus 0, which is 0. So this works. Works, right? Okay? Next one, x equal to positive square root of 2. So this is 3 times positive square root of 2 all 5 minus 6 times positive square root of 2 all cube. Okay, watch me folks, watch me. Watch me do it. Okay, radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2. Mr. C, why couldn't you have just said, made it easier than listing the whole thing? I mean, you know, because this is like killing a fly with a hammer. But I did it on purpose to show you, okay? Because what you would have done here, you know, each radical 2 squared is going to give you 2. Okay, radical 2 is radical 2 all squared. So that gives you 2. The square of the square root. The square of the square root of a number is the number. We've said that several times. Okay, so but I just did it just to show you something. 6 times radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2. So this is 3. This is 2 times 2 times radical 2. Okay, this gives you 2. This one gives you 2. And then radical 2. Minus 6, 2 times radical 2. You see that? 3 times 2, 6. Times 2, 12. 12 radical 2 minus 12 radical 2. And that gives you 0. That gives you 0. I just decided to split it out so that you see it. Okay? And if we do the same thing for x equal to negative 2, negative radical 2. If we do the same thing for x equal to negative radical 2, we have 3 times negative radical 2 all 5 minus 6 times negative radical 2 all cube. Okay? So we will have 3 negative radical 2 times negative radical 2 times negative radical 2 times negative radical 2 times negative radical 2. Minus 6 times negative radical 2 times negative radical 2 times negative radical 2. And that is 3. You know, minus times minus plus. Okay. You have 2 times 2 times negative radical 2. Right? Because minus times minus is plus. Minus 6 times 2 times negative radical 2. So this will be 3 times 2, 6 times 2, 12. Negative 12 radical 2 plus, because minus times minus is plus, plus 12 radical 2, and that is 0. Okay? Comprender? Comprenez-vous? Okay, two more, and we will call it a night. 2 more, and we will call it a night. And we will call it a night. Question 13. After this. Question 13, we have radical x minus 2 equal to x minus 8. Okay? Here we square both sides. This is in order. Okay, we square both sides. Square both sides. You have radical x minus 2 all squared equal to x minus 8 all squared. Right? So square of radical x minus 2 is just x minus 2 equal to, this is x minus 8 times x minus 8. Okay? So this is x minus 2 equal to x squared minus 8x minus 8x plus 64. Okay? So this is x minus 2 equal to x squared minus 16x plus 64. Okay, I want everybody here. I don't like dealing with negatives, so I don't want to move there. I want everybody here. So this will be 0 equal to x squared minus 16x plus 64 minus x plus 2. Right? So this gives us that 0 is equal to x squared minus 16x minus x is minus 17x plus 66 plus 66. Right? So I swap it. X squared minus 17x plus 66 is equal to 0. Alright. 66 times 1x squared is 66x squared. 1 and 66, no. Negative 1, negative 66, no. 2 and 33, no. Negative 2 and negative 33, no. 3 and 22, 3 and 22, no. Negative 3, negative 22, no. 4, no. 5, no. 6 and 11, no. Negative 6, negative 11 will work. Okay, negative 6, negative 11 will work. So x, and this, because this is 1, the coefficient here is 1. Okay, x minus 6, x minus 11 equal to 0. So x minus 6 is 0, or x minus 11 is 0. So x is equal to 6, or x is equal to 11. Okay? What do we do next? Check our work. 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 It is good to check, right? I mean, it is by checking that you know whether you're right or wrong. And with radical equations, it is even more important to check. So you know if there is any extraneous roots. Okay? You know if there is any extraneous root. Now, the left hand side is square root of x minus 2 The right hand side is x minus 8. So for x equal to 6, so this is square root of 6 minus 2, square root of 4, which is 2. Positive square root. Positive square root. Here, 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So 2 is not equal to negative 2. Okay? So x is equal to 6 is an extraneous root. Extraneous root. You see? Now we check for the next one, x equal to 11. So this is square root of 11 minus 2, which is square root of 9, which is 3. And this will be 11 minus 8, which is 3. X is equal to 11 is the solution. Okay. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okay, we knocked it off. One last one, and we will call it a night. Okay? I will call it a night for part 2. You also watch out for part 3. Okay, let's go ahead and knock this last one off. Question 14, last but not the least. Last but not the least. K cubed plus 3k squared minus 16k minus 48 equal to 0. I mean, we've done similar stuff like this. So we've done, factor is 4 times factor by grouping. Okay? So at least, so you can master all these. I am doing multiple so that, and please, with this now, you're supposed to pause the video right now and do it yourself. You know, you need to pause the video and do it yourself and make sure that we both get the same answer. So here, k squared is the GCF. We have k plus 3. And here we have negative 16, k plus 3. So k plus 3, k squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So k plus 3 is 0, or k squared minus 16 is 0. So k will be negative 3. And this is difference of two squares, or you can do square root property. Okay, see what I mean? You know, you could either do k squared minus 4 squared equal to 0, k plus 4, k minus 4 equal to 0. This is difference of two squares. So k plus 4 is 0, k is negative 4, or k minus 4 is 0, k is 4. Okay, this one is difference of two squares. You can also do square root property. When you have k squared minus 16 equal to 0, k squared will be 16. Then you take the square root of both sides. K will be plus minus square root of 16. So k will be plus minus 4, which means that k is 4, or k is negative 4. Okay? This is what we call square root property. This is what we call difference of two squares. I'll write it here. This is under factoring. Okay? Difference of two squares. I like using this if I see a perfect square. I like using this if I don't see a perfect square. Like when we had x squared minus 2 equal to 0, you remember one of the ones we did here, and x is plus or minus square root of 2. Yeah. When you take the square root of both sides, you on the right hand side, you put plus minus. I did that in a completing the square video. Okay, look at it. Square root property. Okay. Now, let's check this, and that will be it for tonight. Checking. Okay, the left hand side is k cubed plus 3k squared minus 16k minus 48. Right hand side is 0. Okay, for k equal to negative 3, let's start with that. K equal to negative 3. So this means negative 3 all cubed plus 3 times negative 3 all squared minus 16 times negative 3 minus 48. So this will be negative 27, okay, plus 3 times 9 plus 48 minus 48. This is gone already. And this is negative 27 plus 27, 0. That's gone, right? Next one, k equal to negative 4. And that will be negative 4 all cubed plus 3 times negative 4 all squared minus 16 times negative 4 minus 48. And this is negative 64 plus 3 times 16 plus 64 minus 48. Okay? And this is negative 64 plus 48 plus 64 minus 48. Bam, 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 bam. Gives you 0. Alright, bro. One more, bro. Okay. k equal to 4. Okay. This will be 4 cubed plus 3 times 4 squared minus 16 times 4 minus 48. You understand this, don't you? Right? In the South, if you say something in positive, you ask a question in the negative. If you say something in the negative, you ask a question in the positive. Hey, do, you understand this, don't you? Hey, do, you don't get this, do you? You understand this, you get this, don't you? You don't get this, do you? Well, I don't take the first one. You get it, don't you? Okay, now this is 64 plus 3 times 16 minus 64 minus 48. So 64 plus 48 minus 64 minus 48. That gives us 0. Alright, thank you so much for listening. Please watch out. Have any questions? Are you hungry?